In 2017, Mercedes-AMG made a promise that physics said they couldn't keep. They promised to take the exact powertrain from Lewis Hamilton's championship-winning Formula One car and put it into a street-legal vehicle that you could drive to the grocery store. Every engineer in the world said it was impossible. They said an F1 engine is too fragile, it runs too hot, it idles too high. To make it legal for the road, you would have to strangle it until it wasn't an F1 engine anymore. And for 5 years, when it looked like the critics were right, the project was delayed. The prototypes failed emissions tests. The car became a PR nightmare, but they didn't cancel it. Instead, they built a machine so complex, so contradictory, and so extreme that certain modes are literally illegal to use on public roads. This is not just a hypercar. This is a torture test for road regulations. This is the story of how Mercedes-AMG fought the laws of thermodynamics and the laws of governments to build the AMG ONE. We are deconstructing the forbidden engineering behind the world's most complex machines. If you want to see the blueprints that marketing teams hide, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't just watch the car, understand the engineering. Why? To understand why this car shouldn't exist, you have to look at its heart. This isn't a race-inspired engine. It is the PU106B. It is a 1.6-liter V6 turbocharged engine. If that sounds small, you aren't listening closely enough. This tiny displacement creates a specific output that rivals a Saturn V rocket. But transplanting this organ from a race chassis to a road car introduced a catastrophic problem: the idle speed. In Formula One, the engine idles at 5,000 RPM. Below that, the internal friction is so intense and the tolerances are so tight that the engine would simply seize and destroy itself. It essentially needs to be screaming just to stay alive. But you cannot sit at a red light in Los Angeles with an engine screaming at 5,000 RPM. It's illegal due to noise regulations, and it would overheat the car in seconds. Mercedes had to force this race engine to idle at a stable 1,080 RPM. This sounds simple, but it was the engineering equivalent of teaching a great white shark to walk on land. To achieve this, they couldn't just tune the software. They had to redesign the entire mechanical breathing apparatus of the engine. They utilized pneumatic valve springs. In a normal car, metal springs close the valves. But at the 11,000 RPM red line of the AMG ONE, metal springs would float, bounce, and fail. Mercedes uses pressurized nitrogen gas to slam the valves shut with surgical precision. But here is the illegal struggle. Managing the gas pressure at 1,280 RPM versus 11,000 RPM required a control system so advanced it delayed the car for 9 months alone. They had to perfectly map the injection timing to microscopic fractions of a second to ensure the engine didn't stall or explode while waiting for a traffic light. This singular achievement is why no other manufacturer has dared to attempt a direct F1 transplant. But a small V6 engine has a natural enemy: turbo lag. To get 1,000 horsepower from 1.6 liters, you need a massive turbocharger. A massive turbo takes time to spin up. In a race, this is managed by the driver keeping the revs high. On the road, when you step on the gas to pass a truck, you cannot wait 3 seconds for boost. The solution is the MGU-H motor generator unit: heat. This is the piece of technology that truly separates the AMG ONE from every other hypercar on Earth. In a traditional turbo setup, the exhaust turbine and the compressor wheel are bolted together. They get hot, extremely hot. Mercedes literally split the turbocharger in half. The exhaust turbine is at the back of the engine. The clean air compressor is at the front. Connecting them is a long shaft that runs directly through the V of the engine block. Why do this? 2 reasons. First, thermal management. It keeps the hot exhaust away from the cold intake air, making the air denser and more combustible. Second, and most importantly, mounted on that shaft is a 90 kilowatts electric motor. This motor can spin the turbocharger to 100,000 RPM in a blink of an eye before the exhaust gases even arrive. It completely deletes turbo lag. The throttle response is sharper than a naturally aspirated V12. This is the magic trick of the AMG ONE. Using electricity not just for wheels, but to weaponize the air induction itself. Power is nothing without consistency. And this brings us to the most expensive headache of the entire project, the high-performance battery. Most electric vehicles, like a Tesla or a Rimac, carry massive batteries. The AMG ONE carries a relatively small 8.4 kilowatt pack. But this battery is chemically different from anything else on the road. It is a direct descendant of the F1 energy store. The problem with F1 batteries is that they are divas. They only work in a very specific temperature window. Too cold, they deliver no power. Too hot, they degrade instantly. In an F1 race, the car is constantly moving at 200 mph with massive airflow cooling the cells. In a traffic jam in Dubai, there is no airflow. Mercedes realized that passive cooling was impossible. They had to invent a direct liquid cooling system. Every single one of the thousands of cylindrical battery cells is surrounded by a specialized cooling fluid. Not just the pack, the individual cells. This ensures the battery temperature never fluctuates by more than a few degrees, whether you are parked or doing 217 mph. This cooling system is so complex, so intricate to manufacture, that it reportedly cost over $1 million per prototype to perfect. It requires pumps, radiators, and heat exchangers that take up almost as much space as the engine itself. This is why the car looks like it has been carved by wind. Every scoop, every vent, every slash in the bodywork is a desperate attempt to feed air to this thermal management system. So Renarm, finally we must address the elephant in the room, the sound and the smog. An F1 car has no catalytic converters. It has no particulate filters. It spits fire and unburnt fuel directly into the atmosphere. To make this road legal, Mercedes had to fit a massive exhaust after-treatment system. They installed 4 preheated metal catalytic converters and 2 ceramic catalytic converters, followed by 2 petrol particulate filters. This created a massive back pressure problem. It's like trying to sprint while breathing through a straw. It choked the F1 engine. To fix this, they had to increase the boost pressure and rewrite the entire combustion map again. And the sound? The filters killed the high-pitched F1 scream. The raw, ear-splitting frequency of the 2015 race car was muted. Critics call this a failure. I call it a miracle. The fact that they managed to get a highly strung competition engine to pass Euro 6 emission standards is perhaps a greater engineering feat than the engine itself. It is a testament to obsessive, brute force engineering. They didn't make it loud, they made it clean, which for an F1 engine is unnatural. The Mercedes-AMG ONE is not a perfect car. It is heavy, it is complicated. It requires an engine rebuild every 50,000 kilometers. It took so long to build that the F1 era it celebrates has already passed. But judging it as a car misses the point. It is not a car. It is a rolling laboratory. It is a monument to a specific moment in history when a group of engineers looked at the rulebook of what was possible and decided to tear it apart. They took the forbidden fruit of Formula One, the pneumatic valves, the MGU-H, the active aero, and they forced it to wear a license plate. It proves that the line between legal and illegal is just an engineering challenge waiting to be solved. They built the impossible, even if they had to break every convention to do it. This was the secret story of the AMG ONE. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below. Do you think the compromised sound was worth the F1 technology, or should they have just put a V12 in it? If you enjoyed this deep dive into forbidden engineering, subscribe to Engineering Apex. We are already dissecting the next impossible machine. See you in the next deep dive. The Mercedes-AMG ONE is not a perfect car. It is heavy, it is complicated. It requires an engine rebuild every 50,000 kilometers. It took so long to build that the F1 era it celebrates has already passed. But judging it as a car misses the point. It is not a car. It is a rolling laboratory. It is a monument to a specific moment in history when a group of engineers looked at the rulebook of what was possible and decided to tear it apart. They took the forbidden fruit of Formula One, the pneumatic valves, the MGU-H, the active aero, and they forced it to wear a license plate. It proves that the line between legal and illegal is just an engineering challenge waiting to be solved. They built the impossible, even if they had to break every convention to do it. This was the secret story of the AMG ONE. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below. Do you think the compromised sound was worth the F1 technology, or should they have just put a V12 in it? If you enjoyed this deep dive into forbidden engineering, subscribe to Engineering Apex. We are already dissecting the next impossible machine. See you in the next deep dive.